Uja all. So this is Seba Jaw's pop-up KMTTV series where she is exploring the frustration on the spiritual path that was submitted. There were several submissions from aspirants, as well as taking some questions here and there as well. And so she's integrating both of those. And this is Sunday, December 21st, 2025. And this is part 9. And if you missed any of those, you are welcome to visit www.kemittv.com and click on new programs, and you will see this series at the top of the list. So you can always review it there, and they will be free for a limited time.
Is it showing up on your screen with a little bit of the colored flyer?
Indeed, it's not fully full screen. There it goes. Do a Seba Jaw. So sitting with your back straight, with your shoulders over your hips, let us just take a few cycles of conscious breathing in and out of our nostrils. Inhale. Gently exhale. Inhale. Gently exhale. And let us have our call and response with our invocation to Anpu and the Supreme Divinity. Otepti nesu netera, Anpu epwat nepta jese, Perkeru kakaped, Sinetera rima keru.
Utebji nesunetera, Ampu epwat nepta jese, Perkeru kakapet, Sinetera rima keru.
Otebdi nesunetera, Anpu epwat nepta jese, Perkeru kakaped, Sinetera rima keru.
Utebji nesunetera, Ampu epwat nepta jese, Perkeru kakapet, Sinetera rima keru.
Offering is given to the Supreme Divinity, unto Anpu and Wepwat, Lord of the sacred land. The spoken offering is 1,000 beef, complete maleness, and 1,000 geese, complete femaleness. This causes the divine to make one true of speech. Heads up.
Uja, can you do the next one also? Well, yes. Just one of that.
Seba Jaw, is it possible for you to make it a little bit bigger with these old eyes? It says it's at 72.3. There you go. Much dua. So this is a prayer to the Atan, as instructed by Sage Malpet, and it's a prayer for well-being. Ahe tatenu, erdinekt, ujatsanet, erdinekt, ujatsanet. And this is a prayer, a supplication to the Atan, the divine manifesting as the dynamic power of spirit, as the life-giving sun. O divine self, grant to me, your humble servant and devoted adorer, the spiritual strength, well-being, and health to provide for my earthly needs and for a successful spiritual life.
Dua. I was looking to see who was on to decide which direction I'm going in today. I don't see Yahuti's on, so I may hold off on that again. And I don't see the gentleman who asked the question last week is on. So if they come on later, or otherwise it'll be put for next week. So let me I think today we will I just had a few words to say on the proverb. And then we'll continue with Chim's Rapad, I think is next.
Seba, your camera isn't on. I don't know if you were trying to do that or not.
No, I was leaving it off for the moment.
Do it.
So Seba is going through a little bit of a cleanse, shall we say, a little bit of a little sniffles, a little cold, a little cleansing here. So I might leave the camera off a little bit more because I want to have to blow my nose so you all don't have to witness that and just have to be recorded. And I may turn off the volume occasionally for that reason too. So, but yeah, let me find it first. That's it. Puja. So what I wanted to say, I can say with this version. And last week, we talked about complacency, regret, and sorrow were the discouragers from set. And of course, we translate set evil, or really egoism is what can be there also. But an aspirant is to know that they are divine, right? And that is what we call in this specific framework that we're working with, referring to it as Sao Nebuchadnezzar, awareness of Nebuchadnezzar, or Nuke. Nuke means I am, referring to not the conception that most people have of themselves being this mind, body, personality, maybe with a soul, and maybe they're religious and God is somewhere out there. Not with that framework, but with a framework that we could call what is called God consciousness, pure consciousness, transcendental consciousness. And that consciousness is the only reality. And out of that consciousness came forth this mystical, illusory creation and some sort of consciousness, magical awareness. You can think of it like if you have like an ocean with the waves. That's like an easy metaphor to use. You have the ocean, and say the ocean is consciousness. I'm not using the ocean in terms of noon, although it still works for that, but just the ocean is just like Nebuchadnezzar, pure consciousness, transcendental consciousness. The ocean is all there is. It's just consciousness. And when waves rise up, or waves recede, it's still just water, right? So the ocean's made up of water. So say the water represents consciousness. The waves rise up. Is a wave anything else other than consciousness? Even though it's taken a form and it's given a name. When it recedes and it fades away, is it anything but water? So in terms of our metaphor, is it anything but consciousness? So even though consciousness seems to have taken these forms to which then other forms gives names, in this magical way of consciousness existing, and especially in the human being, there's this actual extra special feature of this consciousness now takes another form of awareness. And so human beings have not only to be aware of what things are outside, I'm aware of the TV, I'm aware of myself sitting here, but we can also, one thing, we can be aware of our thoughts, we can be aware of what's going on internally. Um, and another extra feature of that is to be aware of our own divine essence. And that's the awareness through the spiritual, mystical path that we're working, as an aspirant, you're working towards achieving that goal of what we call nahast, or spiritual realization or enlightenment, which is becoming aware that it's only just consciousness, it's only just water. And everything else, all these little wave like, even this body, mind, all of these are like waves in this ocean. And yeah, they look this way and they have different vibrations and frequencies and they take on different, aspects of the elements. But really, when you break it down, it's only pure consciousness. It's only Nebuchadnezzar. So that's what we call Nebuchadnezzar. When it comes into the creative aspect, then we call that, now we give it a different name, because we love to name things. So the mind loves to name things so we can understand it better and have nuances. And we're working backwards now. We're like, here we are in these names and forms and these bodies and minds. And now we're trying to like discover that, oh, like we are the ocean. We're not just this wave. Doesn't negate the wave. The wave, whether the wave is there or the wave is not there, it's inconsequential to the water. The water is just going, I'm just water. So if we think of Nebuchadnezzar as eternity, we put all the names there: eternity, immortality, abiding joy, assured, abiding peace, hetap, abiding love or unconditional love, mer, ger, absolute serenity. Because if I'm all there is, I'm quite serene. If everything is full, there's this uh, fullness. That is my heart. Because that's all it is. It's just full of itself. It's just full of consciousness, and so there's silence. And so as human beings, there's this really interesting capacity that has been granted to the human incarnation form, which is both challenging and also enlightening. And that is that, we can, as a wave, we can actually look into ourselves and discover that we are just consciousness. We are actually, it's only consciousness. We can do that, and then we can even immerse even further where it's just consciousness, thinking, it's just being, that consciousness. And then we can come back and emerge from that process. And the more we dive in, soak it in, come out, the more it stays with us as we come out of it. And at some point, it's like, it's talked about like tie dye in a cloth. Like if you have now I've never actually tie dyed a cloth really, but I've heard, at least when this story was still, that's what they shared. So like you take a white cloth and say you want to make it purple or red or whatever, and you dip it into the dye, and then you wring it out, and then you hang it on the line to dry, and then the sun dries it out, and the sun dries it out and like bleaches it. So the first time you do this, it gets like just about white again, Like you would never know that like this was actually dipped in like a purple dye because it just fades out so fast. But the process is repeated over and over and over again until when you put it up and the sun hits it, it doesn't fade at all. The color is retained. And so that's given the idea of, and now, even though I'm using meditation, formal meditation as sort of the idea, realize that the informal and the informal all feed into this process. So it's not just meditating, because if you're in formal meditation, your emotions are all messed up, dysregulated, because you haven't sublimated them into devotional feelings as yet, or you're working in that process. If you don't understand your divine hands, if you don't understand the divine plan, that the divine plan is for your unfoldment towards spiritual enlightenment, and whatever's unfolding according to your RU is not, it may feel like it's going to knock you down or knock you back. It's a peril. It's like, right, that's the other proverb. It feels like it's a peril, but it's not really a peril. It is a peril to the ego, but to the Heru, remember the Herufi character, the Heru with two heads has the set egoism predisposition, and the Heru, I am soul and creator spirit and Nebuchadnezzar, Asar, Ra, Nebuchadnezzar, like that's my lineage, that's the essence of who I am, and I'm going through these different levels of awareness, my soul awareness, where I realize that my true essence is divine. Then I go through, continue with my integral shedding, my studies, my Kanum Nefer, good association, good spiritual association, and then I come to raw awareness, like, oh, there's nothing here but consciousness. Like everything is consciousness. We're still saying everything, so that's not the highest, because as long as you're still saying relating things, I mean, if you're speaking to someone, yes, but if you're speaking to yourself and you're still saying like, oh, everything is consciousness, or as Seba says, raw stuff, SDUFF, everything is raw stuff made up of raw is consciousness, right? And if everything is like consciousness, oh, there's just oneness, and you start to recognize that underlying universal spirit. Basbaket, can you type in the chat the Russia recognition of the universal spiritual reality? That was an acronym that I coined from Sibama's talk at Satan and Mopit that he talks about. And then it even offered recognition of the universal spiritual reality. And then I had Rush Rat, which means as a basis to act with truth. So understanding that, and to act with Mahat based on that. And so coming into this raw awareness of consciousness, that everything is the essence of, raw consciousness, oneness. So there's a sense of oneness with everything. And then if we continue to practice your disciplines and immerse more, then you actually get to the Nebuchadnezzar level, where there's no oneness. It's just one. It's just you. It's just Nebuchadnezzar. And so that's like the lineage process that we're doing. So when you do all of those immersions, you're studying the wisdom, the understanding, so you get the insights which lead to the deeper intuitional realization and awareness of like who I am, the sense of I am, that nuke. And Sebaja, hyphens, puts a little hyphen there and put ing, making it kind of like a mixed, a hybrid term. Hieroglyph fish. Save my mind on how he feels about that. Sure. But nuking correctly, so the whole point is nuking correctly. Like this is the Asar. This is what your Heru predisposition. That's the job of the Heru disposition, is to buttress and to become aware and affirm your true essence. And that's the aspect of the ego predisposition. Cleanse. And when I say cleanse, I just don't mean like, oh, this is bad, I have to get rid of it. It means to integrate. It means to understand. It means like with the emotions, you might have to take a course, you might have to do counseling, you might have to learn about emotions, how they work, what they're meant to be in their ideal form. You might have to study, do a little bit of studying, because we don't get that information when we come into an a mystical culture, a culture that is, not organically based, the whole structure of it on these mystical principles of myth, religion, and mysticism, the underlying oneness, and then discovering that one. We don't get that. So we all we get is like a lot of dysregulation. Run after this to be happy. Buy the American dream. Like as soon as you land in America, the American dream. What is the American dream? But placing your whole being at some future state when this happiness is going to come to you. That it's going to be abiding. That like you get that, you get your White House and your picket fence, and that's it. Except then you get cancer, or except then you get your kid dies, or your kid marries somebody you don't want them to, or you lose your job, or whatever. Right? This is like life. Even if you get to that point, because many people don't get to that point, and they feel like they're not successful. They're not successful in this culture because I haven't done what this culture says I have to do to be successful. So you have to, an aspirant, you have to evaluate for yourself, what is success for a spiritual aspirant? I know one thing I was advised, generally an advice was given to, I think, myself and Seba is like, if you can, you need to, of course, support your foundations. Excuse me one second, sneeze coming on. Hold on, hold on. I think Seba thought my sneeze alert was was a little cute. So yeah, so what does it mean to be successful? So the advice given was like a job enough to sustain yourself, and to sustain you have a place to live, you have some stability in being able to take care of your food, your rent, your lodging, your family if you have a family, and then to practice the teachings. And so that's it. um that gets a little scary, right? Because the what ifs come in. Another sneeze alerts coming on. It's more of a tickle. A lot of what ifs come in there, and we have this thing where our evolutionary aspect. So we have this evolutionary animal aspect, right? Humans are human animals, right? I say my calls them animals, because like we're not just even like regular animals. Regular animals can go to bed at night and just lay their head down. They're not worrying about tomorrow. They're not worrying about the job or the test or the uh, whatever it is that what's going to happen. The weather, whatever. They're not worrying about that. They just put their heads down and they fall asleep. And humans have this extra burden, like a mule that carries burdens. So we have this animal nature, and that animal nature is wired to survive just like other animals. And so this part of us like wants, like, what do we need to survive? Like we want to have security, because in this culture we've come to learn that money in this culture equals being able to get health, right? Healthcare. Money equals safety, like where what neighborhood you're going to live in, if you're going to be able to have a safe environment for yourself, for your family. So we can very much develop a focus on money, almost as being our God, right? When you say that, most people have that focus. Like, what do most people think of in the course of a day? Do they think of, I know there's religious people and Christian people and, Muslim people, and they think of God, but the rest of the time, what are they thinking of? Like, are they thinking of that? Or like, when you go to work, are you thinking of Ma'at Ari? Are you thinking of that the divine is just like flowing through you and out of your arms and your hands and your mouth is like the divine presence is making itself known to do whatever work you're doing? So whatever work you're doing is service. Whether you're doing it in the home, out the home, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're doing yard work, if you are the divine, then Ma'ari is not what you do. It's what you do in terms of having a basic ethical essence to what you do. Like, don't do anything bad against Ma. But once you do that, then the rest of it is how attuned are you into Sao Nebuchadnezzar, your awareness of your divine essence, your awareness of Nebuchadnezzar. How attuned are you to that? That's what bestows whether you did Mat'ari or not. Doesn't matter about what the work ends up being. Like, you finish it, you didn't finish it, it was a failure, you didn't like whatever you did, but was rejected, you did a proposal, you did an assignment, whatever, and you got a bad grade, or it was, it didn't work. That's not what determines your Mat'ari quality. Of course, it has a practical role because you want to do things in a successful way. But the key of Mat'ari also is that if you are doing things like as a servant of the divine, right? That's what the priests and priestesses were, especially who served the divine, they were called like the hands of God. Meaning they like what they are doing, that's God doing it, right? And what made it that way is not their personalities, but their connection and the flow from Nebuchadnezzar to creation, Ra, to Asar, individual, their own individual, right? Because Ra, sent, instead of like being one with everything, he sent these individuated aspects of himself in terms of soul awareness into each personality, each being, right? So that sense of divinity is there, of Nebuchadnezzar connection is there in each one, as Asar as the soul. And so even though we're all individual little waves in this, creation, it's still that divine presence. And so that soul awareness flows through us as Haru. If you're an aspirant in this thing, in this tradition, you're Haru. You're Het Haru, a Sekhmet, carrying out whatever it is that Ra wants to do. So if you're doing Ma'ari or you and you're thinking like, is this in alignment with, you're trying to think like God, but of course, if you're not thinking like, if you're not doing what God wants you to do, God is going to like adjust things, and the ego personality may take umbrage with it. Like, this is horrible. This is not going what I want to do. This is not going well. But the divine is going, right. It's not going well for me either. I need to do some adjustments. I remember once in the early days of the computer, this is like back in the day, when we had floppy disk and things like that, like when you try to save something and it would take like 10-15 minutes to like save a whole thing. And so Seba, when he's into his work, he would sometimes not save, and then the computer would crash, and then he would lose a whole lot of his work. And he would always say, well, I guess God didn't like that one. I have to redo it again in a way that, the divine will be happy. So if you're... Always came out better. Huh? Always came out better next time. And Seba says always came out better the next time around. So if you have that kind of attitude to your Ma'ari, it's not like, it's like that. If you have that flow of connection, that Sao Nebuchadnezzar awareness, like within you, immersing you and expressing through you, it's like almost whatever you do will be Ma'ari. This is not telling you to do anything bad, but some teachings, especially some Eastern teachings, say even if you were to do something like kill somebody or whatever, this is not like Trump type of killing somebody, please. Even if you were to do something like that with the Ma'ari, then it's not really that way, right? Because if you think about sages, they walk outside on the sidewalk. You don't think they're not killing ants. You think all the ants just like, like the ants are parted and all the bugs are parted every time a sage puts their step down. No, that happens even when they breathe in, when they're breathing, right now, whatever, if there's any bugs in my system, yeah, like that too, my bug is in my system better. So what I'm saying is it's not like, these things are like not absolutes. Like there are some traditions, like they won't eat fruit unless it falls to the ground because they think it's injuring the plant and stuff like that. So you have to be a little bit, I'm not knocking that if that's how you want to do, and that's fine. There's, as long as you get a balanced nutritional diet, I'm not against it, but I'm just saying that, there are different extreme. So you want to, I don't know if I want to say you want to find your balance, but you want to be ethically, reasonably ethically situated in whatever action you want to do. So if you do your mat ari, you do your devotion. And again, like devotion, everybody thinks like, oh, I'm chanting, I did my devotional service. No, 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 no. That's like hardly the tip of the iceberg of devotion. When you are devoted to something, when you love something, what do? Like, throw it in the chat for me. Think of a person you love and tell me what you do for that person. Like, what are some of the things? Like, I remember when Seba and I were, together and stuff, like in our early days when we were, in our puppy love or infatuation and stuff like that. Like, what are things you do for somebody you love? Generally speaking, you have to be very specific, but what is important to you? Do you, if you go visit their family, do you ask about them? Do you ask about them like when you go visit their family? Like if you go visit their mom and dad, you ask about when they were a kid and what they did and how they were. Do you try to get as much information about them as possible? Well, these days, I guess if you're doing like dating online or something, right, you might even do a background check, right? You want to get as much information about the person as possible. You, um, what else? Baspaket, what is being shared?
Me,
And
Sebaja, there's
and if
quite a
anybody wants to
few.
come on and share for themselves, you're welcome to as well. Remember, I said you're welcome to interrupt any way if you want to speak. Go ahead.
Okay, so Shams Howard had shared commitment. Basumia shared support them, be of service, give reverence. Shams Rakat Amanted said spend time with the person or experience. Aspirin Jasmine wrote care for them, think about what they need, check on them, show them appreciation, show them compassion. Shams Bell, care for it. Shams Ahid, you are thinking about them, talking about them. Shams Bell also wrote hold them, protect them. Shams Ahid, care for them, learn about them in and out. Shams Arit said affection, getting to know them, communication, gifts. Basakem Hetaru wrote, you study them. Hetep. Quite a few Sebaja, and they're very nefer.
I'm going to see if I can look at them a little bit here, one by one. Dua for reading that. Okay, commitment. I don't know, Shams Howard, do you want to say any more about that? You want to expand on that? What might that look like? And let's do something. Let's turn it over to the ushet aspect. So these were things you say you would do like with people that you care about or things you care about. Like let's now turn it over to ushet. Like so if you want to think of your tutelary divinity or you can have a devotion to tutelary divinity or you can have a devotion to the path, right? Like we see that in the temple of Aset and Ra's myth. She wanted to actually destroy, kill Ra, or held him hostage till he would tell her and reveal what is behind him, which of course we know Nebuchadnezzar. She was like, "Oh, not till you tell me, like what's behind you," and that wasn't very seemingly nice. But that was her devotion. Her devotion was to, I'm not going to keep getting diluted by all these names and forms, these waves around me. Dag nabbit, I am done with it. I'd like to, we go to the ocean and the moon on a full moon night, and it is absolutely beautiful. But Ra, I'm not going to get caught up in that right now. Right now, I want to know what's behind you. Behind door number Ra. That's what I want to know. So, and that was like her devotion to the path, her commitment. That was her commitment to the path. Anyone wants to say something, you're welcome to come on and say. Support.
Or just
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing about a commitment, I realize there's a lot in front of the commitment because you have to accept things and begin to trust and have faith in that kind of stuff before you can actually make the commitment. And then once you finally make the commitment, there's something, to me, there's something about a commitment that's sacred because when you commit to doing something good or something that's beneficial, you just want to keep it. So, and let it last as long as you don't want to do anything disruptive. I'm not saying that you don't make mistakes or anything like that, but you will go to any length to keep your commitment. Or I will try to. Hotel.
Do a Shem's Howard.
Oh, Seba Jazz just been talking away here. I was saying, I said a lot. Do a buzz bucket. Yeah, so I was saying commitment. So what I was saying is that we did these for people or things, or but let's put it in terms of Usha now, devotion, because I'm saying these are all aspects of devotion. So you should be evaluating how this works out in your relationship to your spiritual practice. Did you all hear me when I talked about Aset and the devotion to the spiritual path?
If it was after, Shem's Howard, we didn't hear you, Save John.
Oh goodness! If I'm off for a while, you're welcome to let me know.
Oh, Denise, I just thought you were having a sneeze.
That's why I guess I announced it in my text. The AC, is it on? Just light though. I think it's because I'm drinking hot tea. Maybe it's time to switch to something cold.
Once you get built over, you get it.
Hold off a minute. Let me just go switch to something cold.
When you get a draft or something.
No, it's not cold. It's cool, just room temperature.
Talking about the air. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the AC.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot that I said. So I was speaking about devotion, and I was saying all of these, let's relate them in terms of Ushat devotion, the devotional path. And I am going to relate this to the proverb from Bas Menkara. This is part of fortifying the mind, right? With Ushat, with the emotions. So, because if you don't have courage, the opposite of courage would be like what? Anybody wants to type in what would be the opposite of courage? What emotions would come forward if you don't have courage and patience? And there's some sort of a peril or misfortune and pain and want and calamity comes forward. Okay, fear is one of them. Good. Fear, cowardice, doubt, frustration, anxiety, worry. All right. So all those and again, we're not saying that those emotions that come out are bad or shouldn't be there, because they are doing their role in the animal aspect of the personality, right? The mind body. It has emotions are like a navigational device for how this personality is going to operate. Like it's a guidance system, an inner guidance system to let us know, like, ooh, fear comes up. It's like, ooh, there might be some danger there. This bear could kill me potentially. Okay, well, he seems like, okay, oh, he has a trainer. Oh, I see, he's been tamed, but he's still wild. Oh, I don't know if I want to get too close. Oh, maybe I'll just let the trainer work with him. I think I'm going to stay back. Oh, but that dog looks okay. Oh, I don't know. He's a big dog. Okay, but I see children are petting him. Okay, let my fear go down. So all of this is like going on internally, this navigation to how we interact with our situations around now, how we communicate with other people. Oh, that person is being loud. Are they in pain? Are they, do I want to go and talk to them? Are they just loud because that's how by nature, or is something wrong? Like, we hear someone screaming, it's like, oh, is something wrong? And we think like we're concerned about what they are doing, but really there's a part of us that's concerned, like, is this going to harm me? That's. So that's why the egoism is like part of the personality, because that personality is about self-preservation. And the issue is that in humans, like in animals, it's mostly, I wouldn't say it's all, because animals have different levels of mind, emotion development, intellect, emotion development. But in animals, it tends to be more instinctual from this fight or flight center we have. But in humans, it gets caught up into our psychological experiences that are not actually life or death in that moment. It's not life threatening in that moment. It may be like scary. We may not know how to handle it. Maybe like something we haven't faced before, something we don't want to deal with, but it's not in that moment. But because of when the fear comes up, it's like intertwined with that. And that's where the emotions then kind of become dysregulated. And that's what we call the RU. The RU is like when things are not processed, like we don't know how to deal with that. And it's like it doesn't get processed, and or we don't want to experience it, so we push it down, like and we don't like work through it. So you want to read Best Bucket, what was that?
Nee, Seba. So a lot of them were fear. Then we had cowardice, fear, doubt, anxiety, worry, frustration, doubt, worry, and uncertainty.
Neat. So these things. So when we talk about courage and patience, like Shams Howard pointed out, with commitment, there's like a whole lot that goes into commitment, like maybe some prerequisites. So there's a whole lot. When you say courage and patience, it's actually not just talking about courage and patience. It's talking about, if you're able to do this, there's all of that you all mentioned that comes into a regulation, that gets put in a spiritual order in terms of mind, body, spirit, and not just operating in terms of the animal aspect, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, and the anxiety bills. Those things are normal to come up for humans, because we do have this intertwining with our psychological nature with our very wide psychological nature, and our psychospiritual nature ties into our animal nature with this automatic built-in process of survival. And so it can go a whole spectrum of like emotions that are not like what like you would find in a sage, because in a sage they're not having the psychological fear, the psychological anxiety, the psychological worry, the psychological apprehension. They're not having those parts of it. So if you take that off, then you have like a natural, normal emotion that comes up, of allowing you to communicate with yourself, or know what's going on internally. Like there's a disease where people can't feel pain, I guess. They are unable to feel pain. Apparently, it's a problem because if they have a appendicitis and the appendix bursts, they would never know. So they pretty much like die quickly, because they would never get to the hospital. Even if they broke their arm, like they don't feel it. So if they don't see the blood or whatever, they wouldn't know they have a problem. So we think of pain like, oh, who wants to feel pain? But yeah, animals want to feel pain, because when we feel pain, it lets us know, hey, there's a problem, we got to take care of it. And the same thing for emotional pain. So I think what I wanted to share, so all of these things here relate to, these are all these all have a devotional way. The anxiety, the worry, the frustration, when those come out, that's where you go to Ushat. And not just in terms of, well, chanting, definitely, prayers, turning your mind to the divine, yes. And also all of the things you all mentioned. Um, what intensifying your commitment to some aspect of it. Pardon me? Yeah. So these would be also included in part of your devotion. Show up at Kunum Nefer when we have classes, when we have programs. Take some of the online classes if you're not able to do it in the time frame, but try to show up at the Sunday devotional that is going through the ancient Egyptian Bible. Support the devotional, support the temple, support your own spiritual area. Buy a little bit of flowers. Bring some. You right. You bring your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Flowers or gifts. I saw gifts on here. Did you get a gift from your divine self? It could even be a gift that he this was a gift to my divine self. Oh, I'm showing it in the wrong place. You know, I so-called I bought it for myself, but yeah, at that time I wanted to have, I saw it, I liked it. I liked the fact that it had both the ankh, and I like the fact that it's open, like I can make it fat or thin, because I don't like rings that sometimes my fingers get larger or smaller and then I can't wear them, but I also don't like rings that close off my blood vessels that flow down there for my energy. So yeah, support them, be of service, give reference. So to others in the spiritual community, well, to yourself, your own spiritual practice, your own Shedi, your own family, right? Because after all, who are they? They're just more Nebjar waves. So taking care of your responsibilities, your family, charity begins at home, service begins at home. Your Shetam Netter community, give reverence, the teachings, yourself, the teachings, the teacher, the divine. Care for them. If you have a statue, maybe you want to clean it off. Did I lose my tissue? I did. Maybe you want to make sure you clean it off. Maybe you want to take a dried lotus flower, or a little flower. Maybe you want to rest it somewhere on it or near it. Maybe you want to draw it or paint it, a picture of Ma'at or your tutelary divinity, and see what comes out as you're drawing, as you're painting, as you're doing your art. What thoughts come forward?
Seba, there's another comment from Shem Arit. It says, also sharing gifts with the community. And it looks like Shemja Jehudi is on and is sharing, but he's typing right now.
Okay, Dua. Yeah, things you want to do for someone you love. You can again, like what I was sharing with Goddess Asat, is that her love, like when people read that myth, and they hear about, here's this, it says she's born as a woman, she's incarnate, she's just like, here she's not goddess as said, she's just a woman, and she's trying to get enlightenment, or she's just like looking at the world and goes like, oh, something's not right, this is enough, okay, do a ra, okay, that gets kind of old now, do a ra, do a ra. Okay, I've been doing do a ra, like what else? I've been going to the temple and worshiping and doing this, but there's something missing. And she gets more into the teaching. She finds out that behind the general worship and the myth and the ritual, there's this whole mystical path of understanding Ra as her essential nature, and becoming one with Ra, and transcending even that creator spirit aspect to discover her Nebuchadnezzar nature. And so that's what she becomes committed to and intent on that. And in doing that, she has to like hold Ra hostage. Ra becomes like, she just about kills Ra. It's like I'm gonna kill you if you don't tell me what's behind you, what's your true essence. And Ra's going like, didn't I see you go out to the pier the other day and look at the full moon and the ocean and take pictures? And wasn't it absolutely beautiful? I am all of this. This is who I am. Did you see the sunrise? Did you see the sunset? Do you notice the trees outside? Did you go walking by the lake? Did you go sit quietly in the forest? Did you go ground yourself and walk around and ground? That's me. Just do that, Aset. Just like be happy doing that. And she was like, no. So she goes like, if you won't tell me, that's it. And so she basically, just put him in a position of like, holding him hostage, like just like, death, like, he's gonna die. Like I have, she poisoned him, like, and if you don't tell me, if you don't allow me to come into your heart and discover your true essence, then this is it. And the whole point is that she had to go behind just the external discovery of understanding the recognition of the universal underlying essence, to experiencing that internally as a state of being, and then from there transcending that. So that was her devotion. Her devotion was to enlightenment. And even Ra, like even the devotional, she had to leave the earlier aspect of the devotional feeling and awareness behind, just like going to the temple, just chanting. She had to leave that behind in a way of that she had to move beyond it. It's not like you get rid of it, but it wasn't enough. She had to discover the deeper aspect of it. So that was her devotion, and she was committed to that path. Yes, hold and protect them. So protect your sacred area. Holden, there's a whole thing in like a psychology and and grounding type of psychological processes. Like when you're having an issue, that's an aspect of grounding, is you can actually hold it. You hold it and you feel it, and you just sit with it and you just breathe and you hold it. You can even touch it. Like notice things that you didn't notice about it. Oh wow, I can feel the ridges. Oh, I forgot she had feathers. Is the feather on top of her head? Is it straight up? Does it go at an angle? Oh, she has one knee up. Oh, that's how the arm feels. So just even that, holding it, someone had holding it, is a grounding aspect of bringing the mind back to the present moment. And so mindfulness is bringing the mind back to the present moment, and spiritual mystical mindfulness is when that is done in terms of the becoming grounded, then allowing that serenity of mind that's occurring there to connect to one's spiritual nature. So if one is actually having and holding a spiritual object, then it becomes even a quicker, faster, more profound process. So affection, getting to know them, communication. Yeah, do you talk to you? We have like images of talking to the Ba, to the soul essence. We see those images in some of the tombs. Studying about them, that's wisdom. So you're saying then, Bas Sekam Eteru, you're basically saying that maybe there's not a whole lot of difference between the Uashu and the Rek yoga, right? And that is exactly true. That's why both are the two wings of Goddess Aset, right? Devotion and wisdom. Speak to them. I just heard something that if you speak out loud, it almost has the effect of like journaling. So speaking to them out loud or whispering, like they're saying, like if you do it, I don't know about full research in this. I'm just sharing something I just like heard from some psychological source. But yeah, so I'm affirming speaking to them internally or and externally also works. And they were saying externally, like almost has the effect of journaling, like concretizing it, embody them, meditate on them, learn about them. So correct. So all of that is devotion. So I just want to open that up, trying to be one with them, dissolve in them. Right. So is there any difference in that than formal meditation, right? If you're doing it at its highest level. So when you're doing formal meditation, you're actually practicing a high level of devotion there too. So even though we have them all four, separated, they're really integrated. That's why we use the term integrated, because you can't, if I tell you to just act, engage in act and don't think and don't feel, just do something without thinking and feeling. Like that's not how we are wired, really. Or having zero willpower. Do something, but you're not allowed to have any willpower. You're not allowed to think about it. You're not allowed to feel about it. Like, how's that going to work? Does that work? Can anyone, like, will that work for anyone? So, right. So we're integrated, even though we have to separate things out to work with them independently in certain areas and to understand ourselves. Just like the Hirifi character with the two predispositions. Yeah, Shams Huti, right? It's similar to the Eastern Bhagavad Gita, fight in the battle, courage and fight in the battle. And that holds true for Haru. I was talking to Seba, we were talking about this aspect of it, and that, Haru shows up for that battle. Whether Set is baiting him or not, Haru shows up there. Each and every time. It's like, okay, let's have it. I'm not backing down. That's courage. He has to learn the nuances of how to fight. And one of them we're talking about here is, nuking correctly. Identify, no matter if he's winning, losing, he always has to like have that awareness, like I am Nebuchadnezzar, or I am Ra, or I am Asar, or what I'm calling Nuke, his lineage, Asar, Ra, Nebuchadnezzar. So that Aset, no matter what is going on, she could identify him. She doesn't accidentally harpoon him, thinking it's Set, because sometimes he will assume the same shape and form as Set, being baited by Set and trying to defeat Set, because he's learning the ropes of how to do this fight. That's the aspirant. You're learning how to do it, and there are different phases and different stages, and sometimes you go forward and you come back. So he's learning that. So he's going to make mistakes, so-called mistakes, but it's all a learning process. I remember Umya Haru had said that in the beginning, like watching her, I think her child or a child, when they became frustrated when they were trying to put together a toy or do a puzzle or something, and they come to a phase where they don't want to do, and they get a little frustrated. It's just a phase, like, and then they figure it out or they move away from, but it's just a phase. But yeah, some children can get upset and have a tantrum about it. So that brings me to the next thing I wanted to say, so we can move forward. Is well, I guess concluding with devotion. So my point is that some people tend to focus on like meditation as where it's at. And meditation is a key aspect of it. And what I'm sharing is that they all integrate. So you have to kind of work with these four aspects of your personality. Otherwise, when you try to meditate, the emotions will be disturbing you, or you won't have enough understanding, as Shams Howard says, to have that commitment. You have to have like a faith and understanding. You have to have a foundation. Okay. And so really what I wanted to say, and the psychologists, you are welcome to add, here. We talked about this a lot last week, so I don't want to talk about the complacency, regret, and sorrow. But what I did want to bring up, because I think Asar emphasized that with the sorrow, it's like she thinks of sorrow is a little bit more deep than sadness. So actually, I had a question for you all. And then hopefully that'll conclude this section. My question for you all is a test question. And if the psychologists know the answer, you can answer, but just give the rest a little bit of time to answer. Psychologists, if you know, just give the rest of the community a little leeway time. It's an A, B, or C. Oh, maybe Basbaket, maybe you want to put it in the chat, because that way they'll know if it's A, B, or C, or D. How long when emotions come up, what is the average time that they generally last in a natural way, like in the personality that is not like overly egoistic? Well, like what is the nature's way of emotions working? What do they, how long do they last? A, 1 hour. B, a day. C, 30 minutes. D, 10 minutes. E, 5 minutes. Did I say 5 minutes? E, 90 seconds. Oh, F 90 seconds. Okay, you can type in your answers. What you can do, can you type in for me the number of seconds? Oh, except for Shemspell, who said all of the above. That's why. If you have a specific time frame, can you type in the number of seconds or minutes or hour, whatever I said there? Like just not like how Jasmine did, see minutes. Okay.
Who just said, do you want me to read them?
No, I've seen
You've
them.
Seen them? Okay,
Yeah.
never.
Do our psychologists want to add anything? Or do you want to share? And you don't have to, I'm just asking. Okay, I'm gonna, except for Haru Mackett and Howard and Basekam and Basumia, I'm gonna blow your mind because it blew my mind. Yeah, it's like, I think 20 to 90 seconds. You're welcome to turn on your camera so I can see your faces. If you're like in disbelief. I'm going to turn my camera off for a moment just to blow my sniffles. So that was surprising to me to find out. And it makes sense. So those of you who've been in the teachings with us for a while, you've heard us talk about line on water. Do I have some putty here? Oh, I do, but I have to. It's okay. I'll mush it up. Line and water. So imagine, or you can go get a bowl of water and you pour water in a bowl. This was the preparation for Habarat program. I have water here. So if you take water, and this is good to do, even though I know you can do it intellectually, but visualize it. You pour water in a bowl, and you won't be able to see my line. But if I go and I make a line in there, did it make a line? Sure, it made a line. Or if you drop a pebble in there or make a dip, it disrupts it. But then it smooths right back out. We call that line on water. That's probably like 20 to 90 seconds. It you know, they use a term like a wave. It comes like a wave, it rises up, and then it falls off. And we may not realize that it actually rises up, starts small, rises up, and then falls off. And that's like another type of awareness you can have if you're not aware with it, is that you can start to notice like when it's catch it as early as possible. And if you bring awareness to that, it fades out. That's how it normally does. And so if it continues past that, then it's not the same emotion that initially came up. It's not the communicating type of emotion. It's something else. It goes into that psychological process. And again, any psychologist would want to add to this. You're welcome to come on and share, add to it. It's rumination. It's they call it looping. I guess you're looping back. You start thinking about the thing. Like Seba talked about this in one of the chats about his mom, that when his father passed away, that she would be okay, she would calm down, and then somebody would call her, somebody would come, and soon they came and call, and then she would start the whole cycle. It was like a cycle, a loop cycle. She'd start the cycle of crying, emotion, getting upset, and then she'd calm down, and then the next person would come, and then it would go through that. So either there's rumination, where you're constantly thinking about whatever situation is causing the sadness or the regret or the sorrow or whatever, that is like just like you're deepening the you're like layering it instead of it came and it went like it's supposed to. It's not supposed to stick. It's supposed to like comes, it gives us a little bit of data, and then it like, okay, we got the data. Oh yeah, that's a bear. Okay, oh, that's like a car accident there. Oh, so might be some, oh, that bicycle's going to crash into me, like, frog in the road, squirrel, oh, pull over. It's automatic. It's a like automatic process for that survival way, because it doesn't have time for us to think like, oh, there's a frog in the road, and I don't, like sometimes we can't do it, but sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, and we just swerve, to avoid it. It's on automatic. The bear's there, we automatically, oh, get out of here. So that's a survival way. But when that's mixed in a psychological with trauma or with resentment or bitterness and all that, then it can get into like a really ruminating, deeper level of recycling. They call it looping. You keep going into the same loop, like come back there, thought, feeling, emotion, thought, feeling, emotion, action, thought, feeling, emotion, and it loops, and so it can go on for days, and then it can become like I guess I don't know the whole progression, but it become like a mood, disposition. If you do it like long time, people just don't get become a certain way. They don't become a grumpy old person. They worked up to it. Sticky emotions, they become like sticky, but it's not the same emotion. They may be other emotions coming up in a more, heightened way, but it's like, they come and they go. So that you're just like having lots of them coming over and over and over again, because like, you don't like the message that they're giving you, or you're ignoring the data, and they're like feeling like this person's not listening to me. Let me scream a little louder. So they get more intense, because we were telling ourselves, I'm trying to communicate with this person and they don't seem to get it. I want them to get away from me. Like I'm telling them to like back off, and they're not backing off. Like, so then let me yell louder, right? The emotions kind of do that same thing. So it's something to consider about, like, if you're feeling like emotions, you're getting stuck in emotions, or things are lasting longer, things are lasting a day, things are lasting 30 minutes, things are lasting longer. It's like, no, it's not the same emotion. So that would be need to be sorted out. And so that might be, might need to communicate with a therapist. You might need to do some studies about emotions and about rumination and, why, this cycle of anxiety and worry and things like that. Okay. So that was an
Se-
awakening for me that it's not normal to have long-term emotions.
Seba, there's a few comments.
Mhm.
Shamsarit had, I guess, when you were talking in reference to, what when these occur, and that it can suddenly become an automatic process, as Shamsarit had shared. Shams Bell says that it can become a chronic condition. Aspirin Jasmine says they're sticky emotions. Shams Bell, that's why chronic stress can cause disease. And I was just thinking too that it can also become a pattern that you need to have to break at some point, that or recognize at least that this is a pattern, that you are reacting in this way to whatever is the stimulus. Hetep.
Do all of those, and understanding it's not supposed to last more than that. Because if you think it's normal for it to last 30 minutes, then you allow yourself to be kind of just regulated for 30 minutes and it'll go away. Okay, I was normal. But if it's only like, you know 20 to 90 seconds and you go beyond that, and it's like, yeah, some questions may need to be asked. And it's not asked in a way like, oh, I'm being bad, but it's like, this is the whole thing about awareness, is you have to become aware of your own. This is part of the process. This is not just sitting and meditating. Some things do come out in meditation, but some of it like may need to be tweaked. So I said the line in water. So if the emotion is lasting longer, line in clay. Can you see the line in clay? Right? If it's a
Me.
deep line in the clay, if it's like really deep, then it'll take me a while to work with, and that's what we call the sublimation, to understand it, to get some insight into it, try something. Maybe what you try doesn't work, maybe try something else. Maybe you just need to try it long enough. Maybe you tried it and didn't work because then you do that, and then you make another, because you're going through it, and you make another indentation, and then you patch that up, you patch it up part, but then something happens, you trigger again and you do it again. So it's a process. And that's why you do all of it, because like meditation has a special process that it is a little bit more potent, because it's connecting you to your deeper essence. And in the deeper essence, what is not you falls away much more easily. It's the same thing with the conscious aspect of the spiritual path. Like when you understand who you are, then the not self, the egoism falls away. The more you understand your true essence. And when you experience your true essence or glimpses of it in meditation, then other aspects fall away. So it makes it easier for these things, the egoism, to die away a little bit faster. But yeah, so whatever you have to do to get that, it may take like days, weeks, months, years, whatever it takes. That's part of the process. That's devotion. That's devotion to, heal those wounds. And then if it's like hieroglyphs, like if you're looking at the screen, well, I'm looking at the screen. If it's carved in rock, like we see the hieroglyphs, like how many thousands of years, and it's still there. So if your sorrow is that deep and that edged in, and your regret is that heavy weighing on the heart, and your sorrow is that much weighing on the heart, right? The heart, the are you? What is in the container, the heart container? If it's like weighed down with these things that are lasting a long time, then that's why those have to be dealt with in process. And complacency, we talked about it, like at times we need to be able to get to a level where like things are calm and cool and it's okay for now. That's fine. So we can like integrate, having a time when things are going well. That's fine. But we don't want to stay there, because if we stay there, then the divine will have to come and move us along. So it's better we kind of move ourselves along and keep on our spiritual path, and not like, oh, I have enough wealth and I have enough money and I'm able to travel and this feels so good and I'm enjoying this aspect of life. I've never had this aspect. Look, to a degree, that's fine. But then you have to get back to also or continue your serious process.
On symbol, it's 12:25 p.m.
Uja, can I?
Seba, there's a quick comment from aspirant Jasmine.
Yeah, go ahead.
And she said, I was thinking this week that with ruminating thoughts and sticky moods, it helps to offer it to the warmth of Ra in meditation. Ra's warmth dissolves. Dua Hata.
Dua ni. Even though we're vegan, like a vegetarian vegan, I used to say like when I used to do like after I got my Hatha Yoga certification, and I used to say that in the relaxation at the very end for my, not within the comedic process, but I used to teach at high schools and things like that, community, and I used to say like imagine that the tension in you is like butter and the warmth of the, visualize the sun and the rays of the sun coming down, and it's like butter and it's just melting away into the ground. That reminded me of that, Jasmine. Yes. So so whatever your visualizations and your frameworks are, and it works for you, that's it. That's practice. That's nuking correctly. I guess I'm trying to give an idea of what it means to nuke correctly today, because I don't want people to go around just thinking like, oh, nuke Nebuchadnezzar, and that's all it means. It's all of this. It's whatever relates to you, constantly relates to you and points you back to your divine awareness. I think Shemzari was trying to say something.
Uja, Nee, I did want to say something about the when you mentioned automatic process, because okay, I'm speaking from experience. Sometimes it takes a while to process something that happened and use your tools. Sometimes it does take a day, but I like what you were saying, how in the moment, what I'm taking away is like the automatic process is, remembering the teachings or remembering everything we've learned to get through the situation. And then you could process the rest of it later. But in that moment, to be able to snap out of it, that's what I mean by automatic process, not the like, talking about it, meditating, journaling, movement, but in that moment to have an automatic process. So
correct. And so like Seba uses a term preemptive visualization. So we know life is going to put us in these situations. And especially if we were working with some kind of situation, like personality, like Bas Baquet was saying, like we're learning to understand ourselves and the cycle and the looping and, trying to keep backtracking to, get it earlier and earlier. We can actually, once we start to know about something that is a pattern, then we can actually visualize ourselves when that happens. Like, what are we, like, whatever plan we're going to put in place, we can actually do visualization and seeing ourselves incorporating that plan in the visualization. Like if it's going to be breath, when that happens, as soon as I feel that, as soon as I feel the tension in my muscle, I feel it somatically. As soon as I feel it in my belly, in my chest, I'm going to go to deep breathing. I'm going to go to my chant. I'm going to go to telling the person like, sorry, I need a moment and I'm just going to get out of here. I'm going to go to whatever it is is your go-to. Then you just visualize yourself in that, and you actually try to feel like whatever's going on is happening. And then you're getting dysregulated in whatever way, or the feeling is coming on, the emotion is lasting longer. What are you going to do if that emotion is like going on? It's like 30 minutes now. What can you do to cut out that loop? So then you visualize being able to be successful. And that's your plan. So that will actually, they've done these studies with basketball players and all these things like visualizing making a basket, and they actually do that faster, more effectively than if they actually physically do it. So you're programming there, you're getting that automatic process already locked in. And then it's not, and then when you move beyond that, and you get back a little, then you change it up according to. So that's what I'm sharing, is that you have to figure out for you what it is, each person. That's part of your devotional practice, getting to know not only about your Heru, your mystical lineage, but about your ancestry. What I call ancestry.com lineage, and your mysticism.com lineage. Your mysticism is like your spiritual nature, your Ra, Sar, Ra, Set, Nebuchadnezzar nature. And then the other one is related to your personality, like who triggers you in your family. I mean, what is, or they are like, health conditions that they get, genetically, even though there's epigenetics, there still might be, a genetic component, things like that. So you have to figure it out for yourself and figure out like what works for me. And you can share those with other people because it might work for them also, like Aspirant Jasmine shared. It might work for them also, but mostly you have to put the pieces of your puzzle together. And learn about the personalities, learn about the RU, learn about the patterns, be observant of them as well too. And this is where some of the mindfulness comes in also. Seba is like, he makes the point that regular mindfulness is practiced psychologically, of bringing oneself to the moment, to the breath. As a grounding practice, is not the same as spiritual mystical mindfulness. And I agree with that. And also I say that it's like a first step. Because if you're all over the place, then you that's not going to work. So think, oh, Nebuchadnezzar. Like, first, it's okay to come into your body, because your body is also Nebuchadnezzar. There's no physical body. The essence of it is Nebuchadnezzar. It's okay to come into the body with that spiritual awareness and ground in there and feel that it is a divine, precious gift. And that connects you right away to Nebuchadnezzar, to your spiritual aspect. And then you can go to your divine lineage awareness. So it's quite okay. So I've been needing. So the needing aspect is some RU are shaped like weird stuff, and emotions shaped like, and you mean it, oh no, I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be like a loving RU. So I'm going to shape it into a loving heart type RU of compassion and patience and courage. Maybe I want it to be a big muscle type of RU. Maybe I'm going to shape it into a courage type of RU. That's supposed to be my big muscle. So all of this just to say that, you have to work with it. And I know we were coming up on time, and so I didn't get the Shams Rakat today.
Seba John?
Yeah.
Just doing that kneading just reminded me again of the teachings of the Temple of Aset, where that kneading that is done, making the tafi shepsi, which is your kneading your own personality into what can be purified. And there she goes. Do a Seba John.
My tappy shepsi, my serpent. And that was the serpent she used to mythically bite Ra. Okay, so let's see what I can get to today. Let's see, I think since Yajihuti's on, to finish out. So I'm using this as a part of the perils to answer the questions about resentment, because remember I said like the perils, there are like three types of perils, generally speaking. Three sources, from ourselves, our own bodies, from like outside of ourselves, other sentient beings, other beings, people, and then, nature, natural disasters and things like that occur. So we're going to use to talk about freedom from resentment when persecuted. So persecution is like a peril, right? From other sentient beings, right? We also from ourselves. I think from ourselves, right? We persecute ourselves. When we see the definition, we'll see like when we hound ourselves about something in an unfair way. So so going back to the line and water, 20 to 90 seconds. Beyond that, we start sublimating it. It means we work through it with our wisdom, with our devotion, with our meditation, with our ma'at, all of those. We start molding it till like we resolve it. Like, this is all illusory anyway. We don't want to say just this is illusory. We want to say that, but we want to also like be able to feel it a little bit and work it. Like, so journaling would work through this. Like, how does whatever happened make reconcile with illusoriness? And how does understanding the illusionist reconcile with like, I can go back and face this, and I've released this, and this is okay. I think I talked about that, the disease of incarnation. It's like, we have all these perils, but really, and we can blame other people, but nothing happens to us unless our RU permits it. And it's really because life is a divine plan unfolding. We are in God's hands, and whatever is happening is really happening for our spiritual enlightenment, whether our ego personality loves it or doesn't love it. It's all purifying and buttressing and inspiring, and just, it is what it is. And so even enlightened sages that don't need to purify or buttress, they might need to purify or buttress their physical body, but also there's some RU that are coming that are just gripping and holding, and in terms of health, in terms of I guess probably mostly health for an enlightened sage. So the body gets old, things happen. Okay, one moment. So those reflections are all part of the making process. Really, the goal is to rid oneself of ignorance, and that is the buttressing part. That's the Harut predisposition. Harut predisposition is working on removing ignorance, and then the other part is removing egoism, and that is the purification of the personality part, the set part. That's like removing egoism, removing ignorance. So that's the twofold integral aspects of the Harifi personality that's being done at the same time. And I think last week I wanted to be sure that we talked about the what's that word we talked about? The psychology word that's being used for if you like hurt and like trauma that comes out, that it's trauma that comes out. Right, that they say when you go into spirituality, it makes your trauma come out because you don't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. We talked about it all last week. What was that word we talked about all last week? Does anyone remember the words? Mm-hmm. For suppressing, ignoring your traumas and trying to deal with it through spiritual things. That is spiritual bypass. Yeah. A spiritual bypass. That's a spiritual bypass. Right. So Seba uses a different term. I don't like the spiritual bypass. It's like you're not bypassing your spirituality. You're not using your spirituality to bypass. Part of the spirituality is working with the egoistic aspect, the RU aspect of the personality, to purify that. So you're actually using, in our framework, you have these two aspects of the personality, and mysticism and mystical spirituality, you're working with both aspects. So your traumas, whatever the RU is, that purification, that's your removing egoism from the personality. So it's included. It's not like you're not trying to buttress and get to nuke yourself so that you can ignore the fear, the anxiety, the worry. No, you're doing that so you can try to now overcome the fear, the anxiety, the worry by knowing who you are, that is fearless, that is in the moment and is beyond it has no anxiety because you're everything. There's nothing to be scared or worried about. You're in divine hands. You're the divine, as a matter of fact. You're in your own hands, as a matter of fact. So it helps you to actually untangle those egos. So I say that's where Seth comes in, the intuitional wisdom. She is the that inner push that pushes people, pushes aspirants to come into spirituality, even if they're bringing baggages of trauma and stuff. Like, yeah, bring it all, because that's who you are at that time, or what you are. And then within the spirituality, you have to make space for that as part of your discipline, to work through the traumas, the dysregulation aspects of the personality. You have to, like, that's going to be your list of things to do as part of your devotion, because you have to have right feeling. And to have right feeling, you have to have right emotions. So it's not just chanting dua ra dua dua. So that's what it means. Like I said, have to go through all of that. All that's part of the work. Just get into this a little bit, and then we'll continue next week. The resentment. So I think Yajahudi was talking about be free from resentment under experience of persecution, be free from resentment under experience of wrong, which are initiatic precepts. And I think the question was about persecution, and why, like, is persecution part of the process of that? So now, did I share here what persecution, the definition of persecution? This was a while ago I did this, so. We did that. Okay, well, Shamsur is next. So somewhere back here is resentment. And I can't do a search for it because it's on PDF. Okay, actually here, sorry, here, it's right here. Resentment definition. So yeah, so I put persecution, be free from resentment under the experience of persecution, be free from resentment under the experience of wrong. So I'm assuming, I'm just, in a way of answering this question, I'm saying, yeah, those are perils. And we are going to have these perils in time and space. They're going to come to us, and especially in this incarnation cycle that, we are including, where there's not a foundation of a large scale mystical culture, where it's very, very tilted towards egoism, which means people are just going to be putting out egoism all the time. And so that's basically, we've come to the spiritual path. Those of us come to the spiritual path and the mystical path, we were saying, like, oh, that's why I came here. Like, anger was my thing. It's like, oh, I want to find a way not to be angry. So that's how Aset got me into it, because that was my folk. I just knew it wasn't, like, healthy to just become angry. And so this is the time. So we have to be really, it's accept it. It's out there. It's like interface. It's out there. It's maybe in our home. It's just like in our work. It's part of the process. Even if we weren't on the spiritual path, we'd still be dealing with persecution and being wronged, because we are in this world, which is a little cesspool-y right now, where that's what is dominating. So yeah, so that's part of the perils we're in, and so we still have to do our own due diligence. The other part that I thought was, like, interesting was being free from resentment, is what it's saying. So that's going to happen. Heru, Aset were persecuted. Excuse me. Oops, I wasn't quick enough. Sorry. They were persecuted and wronged, right, in the midst. So it shows us, and that's what the myths are for. It shows us what's going to happen. And it's saying, in spite of that, we have to be free from resentment. So I looked up resentment, and again, anyone is welcome to share who has knowledge in these topics. Resentment, a bitter feeling of anger After the sneeze comes the nose. 1 second. A bitter feeling, and now since Yaje Hutier and us all, everyone, you would think that just if you even hear the definition of resentment, like, it's not something to do. So this is something the sages specifically highlighted, and they're saying, like, you just have to be really mindful with these. These specifically are really, really rough. Like, you really don't want to get into these. And if you do, purify, whatever you have to do. All your menking, your carving off, resentment, like, what are you, I'm gonna pull it off, I don't want it there, or I'm gonna mold it and make it a little, not make it compassion, or make it just remembering that this is the time and space, and this is my practice. How am I gonna get good at something if I don't have practice? Really, that's what it's for. Like, those of us who wanted to practice to be free from resentment when persecuted and wrong, that's why we chose this time frame to come into. If you don't want to practice it, this is not a good incarnation time. If you don't want to become perfect at it. But if you are wanting to attain enlightenment and you need it to get lots of experience, this is a really good time. I think you would all agree. And you because you're going to be triggered to it a lot in this culture. If you are just even a caring, empathic, empathetic, normal, kind human being, when the stuff that's going on out there happens, like, it's almost an automatic, like, response of, oh, that's like really disgusting and nasty. And so maybe for the line and water, it just lets you know, like, oh, disgusting, nasty, don't want to be a part of that. If it comes up, line and water. But if it starts to get carved into your personality, carved in there over lifetimes, and then again in this lifetime, carved in your heart, this is your ab, carved, or this, if you want to think of it as a weight, in your ab, like like how much does it weigh? Like, is it 10 pounds? This is my little dumbbell. Oh, sorry, I didn't put on my thing. I'm showing. If this is my little dumbbell, is it like 10 pounds, 5 pounds? How much, how much is it weighing down your heart against a feather of Ma'at? Do you even want it to be a pound in there? Do you want to carry a pound of it? Do you want to carry a pound of bitter feeling, anger, displeasure, or ill will in you? Is 16 ounces enough? Is 8 ounces of that enough? So bitter feeling of anger, displeasure, ill will, often stemming from a perceived wrong, insult, or injustice that one feels they've been forced to accept, leading to deep-seated bitterness, cynicism, and even physical health problems if chronic. There's what Shemsval, put there, chronic condition. So this is like, because it goes in, right, that stress response being triggered. That's the other thing. The stress response, I think I share that, but maybe I didn't share it. It correlates also with the emotions, and it correlates also with the line and water. The stress response is like something that occurs, danger, immediate, life or death. It occurs up, like, you see the deer, the lion is there. The deer looks. The lion starts to chase, or the deer decides, let me get out of here. Runs, escapes the lion. Goes right back to grazing right away. It comes down and it reaches a homeostasis, normalizes as a baseline. It doesn't stay up on a direct trajectory. But in this culture, because we are animals in this culture, the human beings are in this culture are especially animals, because we don't have cultural rituals that are really integrative into a spiritual mystical paradigm to help us really, really effectively let go of these things. So and they actually are just putting, oh, insurance premiums are going to go up. You're going to lose your insurance. They just keep turning and twisting and twisting and twisting and twisting. So it's really rough. And I will be honest, and maybe psychologists can say, I I don't know I've reconciled from a psychological perspective if there how much is a human being supposed to take, because I think this is where we are in for us with aspirants, trying to walk the path. Like, if you can go to total detachment, more power to you. But when you're like in between, coming along, intermediary, and there's all of these pressures there, it is really rough to, because these emotions are tied in with the fight or flight, which are short term. They're tied in, supposed to be line and water emotions. So when they're lingering and staying that long, it's even more imperative for aspirants to be sensitive to that. And you really have to make some Herculean efforts to put yourself in a canoe nefer type of process and environment, and really turn to your steady disciplines to really help, because this is why there's such an increase in psychological issues going on. And they're turning more and more to meditation and these types of processes to help people on deal with it, because it's not like humanly natural, which I guess it's pushing us to go beyond human animal nature, but it's like really not normal and not natural. So you have to create a normal, natural little sub group type, whether it's your family, whether it's your community. Find an area where you can actually not be in chronic stress from resentment and anxiety and bitterness. Not look at the news, whatever it is, because you realize that your RU, the only thing you have to be concerned about that can affect you and impact you is your RU. So if you do that, you can create a little ball around you, a little balloon. You can be in a bubble of your RU and work to purify your RU, efface the egoism, and purify and remove the ignorance. That's it. That's the only way. I guess that's why I came into the teachings, because I couldn't figure out how to do anything else other in the world of time and space. So, bitter feelings of anger, displeasure, it will often stem from perceived wrong, insult, or injustice that one feels they have been forced to accept. So that's a little interesting there, because being forced to accept something, you're not forced to accept it by your RU. You feel forced to accept it by the world, but it's in line with your RU. Now, does it mean like you are going to accept that I have to put myself under this persecution? Where's the persecution happening? I'm going to go there, or this person is persecuting me. I'm going to stay here because it's my RU. No, you have intellect. You have capacity to move. You have your wisdom teachings that guide you in each situation. What is the best way for you to react, to be able to stay regulated and have a mental equanimity. So the RU doesn't force you. The RU is forcing you, but it's your RU. So it's saying like, I'm forcing myself to accept that I'm incarnated in this time and space, and I really don't want to be. So that's something we have to accept. And the reason we wanted to come into this time and space is because we wanted to purify the egoism, and we wanted to remind ourselves. And so this is how this time and space incarnation world is. So we have to accept that we're here. We have to accept that we want enlightenment, and we have to accept that this is where we've incarnated to, and therefore the RU is perfectly in alignment with it. But we have to do certain things in a certain way to be able to get through that. Otherwise, they'll go crazy or get sick. So accept, before to accept, leading to deep-seated bitterness, cynicism, and even physical health problems if chronic. If it's persistent, the emotional state characterized by holding onto grievances, creating barriers to healthy relationships and personal growth. And so if the personality feels like it's being forced to tolerate it from a ego personality aspect, it might feel that, and it should. That's what the egoism does. It brings up the emotions to let you know what's what. And then your spiritual aspect comes in and go like, hey, no, I'm not being forced by anyone to tolerate it. This is my incarnation. I mean, what I'm being forced to is to handle it in a spiritually mature Machian, witnessing, detachment, effective right action, right feeling, right thinking kind of way. And that's a lot to have to do to deal with it, but that's what it is. And so that it comes back to integral shedding. So I think we'll leave it there for today. And I just wanted to tap into that so that you can think about it, and maybe you can come back and share next week. What do you think, Yaje? What do you think the answer is based on our nuking correctly and our conceptual framework? I mean, what else are we going to do? What else is an aspirant to do? And right action might mean that we might have to move away from whatever the persecution is. If it's like, especially if it's physical and it's going to hurt you, like you need a body. If it's mental, psychological, and you're trying to do something, to sit there and have your spiritual practice, and somebody's like, doing something to you, like, then you might have to move away. So it might means like you might have to move to a different area. Whatever it is for you, for everybody's going to be different. Whatever it is for you in the whole spectrum of you that you've been introduced to with your spiritual practices, there's a way to handle it, including counseling with someone who's in the teachings or someone who's not in the teachings, because maybe a lot of those, the template for that bitterness and anxiety might have come even before you came into the teaching. So maybe a part of it can be handled just even regular psychology to tweak, get to a little bit of it. Yeah, that's why I gave it to the teachings decades ago, because I don't know what else is true also. Anyone has any other ideas? This was my solution that I decided to engage in, the spiritual path, to deal with my issues. And if others deal with it, alcohol, others deal with it, we did some of that in our youth, not like, getting, becoming alcoholics, but, TGIF, the Friday, you go out and you have a few drinks and stuff like that, and take the edge off and get into like talking nonsense and fun and stuff like that, just to. So. Okay, we'll conclude. Do forbear with me. I know we went a little bit fast. I'm just trying to, I guess, time-wise, get through the series. So I still have hopes next week of finishing this and then going through the get to Shem's Rakats. And I'm thinking that the reason I haven't gotten to Shem's Rakat, because really I have some interesting comments for that. And since I first put together, well, I have gone back to work on it, but really I need to go back and make it a little more streamlined and put some other thoughts into it, some things that have like come about it. So I needed to do that. And every week I haven't done that and I haven't gotten to it. So I will work on doing that, making it a little bit more tight and more flowing in a streamlined way, rather than just my initial thoughts and my secondary thoughts. So does somebody want to close this out? With your prayer to the Aten for ourselves, for our community, for our family, friends, our loved ones, for everyone. Because even if someone is persecuting us, the best thing you can do to someone who's persecuting you internally, as far as an intention, is like may you get enlightenment. May you desire to get enlightenment. May you discover your true self. Because if they were to do that, oh, it'd be like exactly what you would want them to become, like an enlightened sage. So we send them well-being, Erdinect. We're not trying to strengthen their egoism, but we're trying to strengthen their sense of well-being in spirit. So
Also, ego, what you're trying to do is destroy their ego.
Huh? Oh, Seba said, oh yeah, you're buttressing yourself, and you're remembering also that everyone is an incarnation and an essence of like the wave. Everyone is like a wave-like essence of self. So you're going past your egoism in a way to recognize that, and that buttresses your own awareness that this is a divine plan and that they're there for a purpose in your life, but not that you have to take being beaten down by them. So whatever it is that you have to do in a practical way, because it'll change. If they're doing emotional abuse, it's still abuse, and you're affected by it, then you got to get out of there. If you're like Buddha now and they're doing emotional abuse, you tell them, I'm not accepting your present, and you deal with it, because what's going on in their nature is like so ooh, like you wouldn't want to be them. So they're already suffering their own juices. And not only that, like when you wish them well-being of spirit, you're also wishing that they efface their egoism, and you're sending them positive energy towards that. And that's really what you want them to become, not egoistic. So does someone want to lead us?
Or just Ebajah,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
if Shems Arit would like to.
Well, maybe you both can do it. Call and response.
All right, that sounds never.
I was going to
Very
say, Shemsia Jehuti, yeah, they're already suffering. Again, we're just reminding you of that saying that it's a common saying: hurt people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how. Your camera's on or off, however you prefer it.
Ahead atenu.
Aher Tatenu.
Erdinect Hujatsanep.
Erdinet Ujatsanep.
Ahead atenu.
Aher Tatenu.
Erdinect Hujatsanep.
Erdinet Ujatsanep.
This is a prayer, a supplication to the Aten, the divine manifesting as the dynamic power of spirit, as the life-giving sun.
O divine self, grant to me, your humble servant and devoted adorer, the spiritual strength, well-being, and health to provide for my earthly needs and for a successful spiritual life. What's up?
Let's have much Dua. One last thought, and that was that really, what else? Yaji Huti's comment. What else are we supposed? What else is one supposed to do? What else can one do? Because if not, one is making oneself responsible for changing other people's are you, and is that what you want to spend your life doing? Do you want to spend your life doing that? You're not going to be okay until they stop being hateful, until they stop being angry, until they stop doing injustice. Do you want to pledge your life for that? That's what your spiritual path is going to be, because even God can't do that overnight. If God could like do that, snap the finger, and it would have been done. So it's a process, just like it is for aspirants to go through the process of their cleansing process over lifetimes to get to this point. It's a process, and we can't take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Until that time, we influence others in our sphere, definitely. And if somebody's doing something to thing and we go to court and they get arrested and they go to jail because they were trying to harm us, then yeah, that's their RU and they're learning a lesson. But that's their RU taken through the course. We have to, our thing is right action. What is it? What is my right action in this situation? Is it to call the cops? Is it to report this person? Is it to go to court? Like I had to do that for a case. Somebody threatened to corta mi cabeza, cut off my head, a client who we did a good deed for their pet, save their life, pet's animal, their animal's life, and for something that happened not outside of me. I was the one that was called upon to, because I worked at the place where they offered this kind of support. But anyway, this homeless person threatened to corte mi cabeza, and so like, and they were writing notes, and so it was like everyone was afraid for me, like because they were, I would leave late at night. It would be the only one, things like that, and then they a police officer who and if you need to leave, you need to leave. A police officer who was a client came in, and just myself and the other person he had threatened to court her cabeza as well too. We were speaking to, because the other person was really, really concerned too. And so we were speaking to the police officer, and the police officer, told them where they hang out in their homeless thing with the, with the pet. And they went there and they spoke to the person, and they didn't like what the person had to say about wanting to court to our cabeza. Apparently they were concerned that it was just more than just like frustration and the threat. So they actually arrested the person. And then then of course we had to go through the court case. I had to go there. I don't know if the other person in the office went with me, or if my was separate from theirs. I can't remember, but I had to, because I had to do a restraining order, all that stuff, type of stuff. But not that they would listen to follow the restraining order. And so, I had to go to the court, and I had to be there. And then the judge asked me, like, and I was. At that time, it was like when you first come into the teachings and you're in your like little la la land of being protected. You felt like you really felt that you didn't have the foundational basis yet. Well, maybe you do, because I said a set and the essence of who you are. So you have, you've given up your worries and everything for a time, because the teachings are just so wonderful. Like you're in that phase, and so I was like, kind of unaffected, but doing my Mati and Jude duty, doing my Mati and Jude, because I don't know who the person is. It may be somebody else. It may be me. I don't know. And why would I want to risk losing my head, having my cabeza corta cut off in Spanish? So the judge asked me, what did I want to do about it? What do I want for the person? And really, I appreciated when the person was in jail, that I was able to relax. I was able to leave work at night, get in my car, because I used to park, actually they had me parking in the garage, and then closed the garage, only could hold 2 cars. So this whole time I had to park inside, or pull my cart inside when they left, and then, leave from there. But I still have to open the garage and all of that, and things like that. So, it was a relaxation. I was relieved when the person was incarcerated, and I knew like I didn't have that risk. And so when the judge asked me, I told the judge just that. I said, well, I don't want to like have them, I don't want to lose my head. I don't necessarily want them to have them stay in jail forever, but I want them to not, threaten me and not, cut my head off. I want that to end. And I want them to go in their merry way and allow me to just go in my merry way and stuff like that. And I think, I told the judge I didn't want them to be punished excessively or anything like that. I can't remember if they were released, or maybe they were in there for a little bit longer and then they were released, but never heard from them anymore. And I think the police officer said didn't see them around anymore and things like that. So it just kind of resolved that way. But yeah, so you have to do. I remember another time, Seba and I got we were hit by. I think I was hit, or Seba was hit. I can't remember. We were both, and someone hit us. This is like even before the teachings. This is when we were like young adults, and we were learning about the world, and like you're learning about like how unrighteous people can be. Like it was like just mind-boggling to us, because we were just coming into, graduated from school, so we've been in a sheltered kind of environment, parents, high schools, college, sheltered, and now we're into the world, and this person hit us, ran into us, ran a stop sign and hit us. And then we were talking. This is back in the day when you have to call the police. Like, I don't even know if we had cell phones back then. Yeah, we must have. I don't know. Can't remember. But anyway, this person got out and they were like oblivious to the fact that they hit us. No asking, like, are you okay? Like normal for, maybe they were, now we don't know. We use the term autistic or something. So maybe they were something like that. I don't know. But Seba and I couldn't believe, like, not a word of, are you okay? Is everything okay? Is your car okay? What do we have to do? It was like all about them. I can't remember the details, but it was just like about them. And it's like felt like you're in a twilight zone. And so yeah, we I think we got the insurance for information, did all that stuff, and we had to go to their insurance company. I think we had to take them to court or something like that. We had to get estimates. And I think they didn't pay, and we had to take them to court to do that. So you have to do your right action. Yeah. Another time, like, this is when we came into the teachings. This was someone who was recommended by somebody who actually introduced us to spiritual teachings. Well, that person that introduced us to it was like a group, but one of those persons, he basically he cheated us out of like $5,000. And this was back in the day when $5,000 meant a lot. By, talking about some investment. And another person had told us not to invest, not to do that, because I guess they know this person's personality. But we had just, like, we were just so engrossed in the spirituality, and, we were not understanding that the elephant, Bus Bucket, I think, will understand that thing, when you're walking down the street, the initiate walking down the street, and an elephant is coming, and they just got the teachings that God is everywhere and in all things, everything is God. And the elephant is coming down the street, and the driver is telling the aspirant, get out of the way. I haven't trained the elephant. Get out of the way. I don't know how to move the elephant. He's going to kick you out of the way or throw you out of the way. And the aspirant is going, the elephant is God. I'm God. Everything's God. So why would God hurt God? And then the elephant knocked the aspirant over, and he had to go back to get the teachings. And he goes like, the teacher tells, the aspirant, I thought you said the elephant driver told you to get out of the way. He goes, yeah, well, he was God too. So when God tells you to move, get out of the way. So when we get into like the teaching, sometimes we short circuit some of the practical aspects of reality, which is why we need Ma'at to kind of help us guide our actions in a righteous way. And so here was that, but we were still in the phase of everything's God. and this person, he guided us into like some of the, introduced us into the mystical aspects of spirituality. So why would we think this would be the person? Anyway, we were warned, but we didn't know better. Yeah. And they did this thing, and $5,000 later, that was like a lesson that just because somebody's in spirituality and they're practicing along with you, or they're teaching you necessarily, or whatever, that, that it doesn't mean that they have purified that aspect of their personality. They may have purified another aspect enough to teach you in some things, but, so that makes relationships really, really tricky. And even when we came into our spiritual teaching with our teacher, like, we went there again, and there were people that have been going there for like so long, 20 years. And this one person, Seba was just getting into like coins and gold and things like that. And he was very close to where we live, and he had a coin shop. And so of course he's going there, his wife's going there, like they're like, they're long-term people, they're like, integrated, especially, well, the wife is, and he does go with the wife. So we were going there, and so say Mama was going to do an investment with him. And then something in me told me to call the one of the teachers that, is very much there, and just ask about him. And I called, and she said, no, I wouldn't advise it. Like, actually, they were getting divorced. And he's for mail fraud. Like, actually, he did a lot of unethical things through the mail. So they got him in mail fraud. But yeah, so just those were like lessons we learned all early on about, are you that it can be deep, and even the personalities themselves may not even be, it may be their pattern, and they don't mean to do that, to be unrighteous about it. But that's how the pattern comes out, and they think like, oh, it's an investment and it's going to happen, you're going to make money, and da. But again, another person recognized that pattern was there, and we just didn't know it. So So all of this to say is like, this is just time and space, and we will be wronged, and even spiritual, so-called spiritual people will, do wrong things to us. Even spiritual teachers might, even the good spiritual teachers might do something to you that you feel wronged about, because wrongness is about your sensibilities. Not everybody feel wronged in the same way, and not everybody feel persecuted in the same way. Some people just say like, oh, that's your stuff, like you keep that stuff, whatever they're doing to persecute you. Like they're like Buddha when somebody tried to give him like shower a whole bunch of insults in him. He's like, that's a gift I'm not receiving, you keep that gift, I don't want it. So some people are able to do that, but some people are more sensitive, and they become sensitive to it, and especially if they have RU related to it, so it can go in all these different ways of being. So the whole thing is that you don't want to spend your mental effort and energy so focused on what they're doing that it takes away from your time of engaging and purifying your own egoism, because you're watching their egoism as part of your egoism as well, except for the aspect that you need for your, for your safety, your health, because you are in the bubble of your RU, and that's what you're working through. And the RU bubble just requires you to face your egoism. And what I was saying, the right action may actually be taken action against other people. This person that came to, oh, that's the same group of people, spiritual people in the beginning. They recommended this person because we had built like an extra little cabin, like a, what do you call those extra rooms? An extra little out cabin, or what do you call it's just not coming to mind at the moment. A family room, or grandfather quarters is what they called them back then. And so we were renting that out to get extra funds. And so they recommended this person to rent it out, and this person was good, and this person had a job. Do you know this person never paid us? It was in there for at least 4 or 5 months, never paid us rent. They were unrighteous. They came in there from the beginning, and they're working, and we have to watch them come up. And this is when we just started to get into spirituality. We had to watch them walk into our yard, go to the house, the little cabin, live there. The electricity is coming from us. We're paying the electricity and water, and they're living there rent free. And we try to take them to court, and then you can't evict. You have to wait a certain period of time. You have to put in the eviction, and then it takes like a month or 2 months or 3 months. So they're living there rent free the whole time. And then we went to court, and we tried to get them to garnish his wages, which mean they're going to take from his wages to give us payment. And I can't remember why the court wouldn't do that. So finally, we had to wait till the eviction was possible, till that came to, and then do that. So and I can tell you stories from ashrams also. These things happen in ashrams also, because people come with their best intentions, but their worst are you. And so that's just how human beings are when they are around each other. That's what we do to each other. We contaminate each other, either with our really good RU or a really negative RU, and or a mixture of both. And I think, for people it's a mixture of both. And you just have to try to find those people who are, have a more positive and are working on their negative as best as they can. So it behooves us to be free from resentment and not have all of those things going on in ourselves. Etep, dua.
Dua Seba, and Anko Jasaneb to you and Seba Ma, and Hetep di Sinet Eri Metawaj. Hetep.
Uja, I think for those who are still on, join us tomorrow for Hebarat at 6 a.m. Devotional worship to the goddess based on Superma's book about the ritual that's done at this time of the year. And we're doing live replays, but there will be like some live interactions as well at the beginning and at the end. Heads up. What's up, everyone? Peace and blessings.